Hello, friends, and welcome back to Like Anime, your weekly anime talk show. Got a couple episodes dropping a week these days. My name is George, and I'm joined with Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm not joined with him.
We
are not conjoined twins, despite what he tells you every week.
joined together with the band. Okay, that's all I ask. How are you, man?
I'm all right.
Joined by. Okay, this thankfully isn't a podcast on prepositions and proper grammar.
Could we do that? Yeah, let's get rid of this anime stuff and let's just talk about proper grammar.
That's how we'll really hit it.
Man, those episodes are going to be long, though. I got a lot to say.
Boring.
Depends.
Depends on the audience.
Depends on the listener. Yeah, I'm like, I think I could listen. I think I could listen to that.
You could just listen to yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do we got? We got week 9.
Week number 9.
We've been rocking this. If you've been following along, we appreciate it. Week by week, we're knocking them out. So let's, without further ado, let's get right to it.
Yeah, we're about 3/4 of the way in. Episode 24. Yeah, we got 9 shows we're covering in this episode, and the first of which is episode 8 of Super Cub. So this episode is about She, who we met last week, the new friend who's been in the titles the whole time, and we've been wondering who the heck she is. Well, now we know. She is She. So anyway, Reiko and Koguma are talking about winterizing their cubs because it's getting cold out. And while they're having that discussion, She comes over and says, "Hey, you guys, let me buy you free coffee, or my dad wants to buy you free coffee at our cafe to repay you for your help, your kindness during the cultural festival thing." And so they're like, yeah, we'll take free coffee. So they go and they have some coffee at her parents' cafe. Her dad looks like a German lumberjack. I don't know if you think he's supposed to be German or.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like cultural appropriation. The family.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's sort of the impression I got as well. I wasn't 100% sure, but I mean he was very tall for a Japanese man. So
yeah,
that's what made me sort of wonder there.
I just assumed they were Japanese, but it would help explain their interest in other cultures' food if they were from other places. But
right.
Yeah,
I mean, if her father was German, it would make sense that he was into German things, and
but
I don't know.
That wasn't explicit.
No, it definitely wasn't. But anyway, yeah, so they meet the dad, the lumberjack. I mean, not that he's out chopping wood or anything, but, he just looks the part of a German lumberjack. So then after they have their cup of coffee there, then they go out and they go do some shopping for some winter gear for their cubs. And they get distracted and don't buy what they went there to buy.
They get handlebar covers. Right?
Yes. After that, Koguma says, "Oh, hey, handlebar covers," because she sees someone going by on a cub that has the handlebar covers. But whatever store they had gone to, they went in to look at winter gear. And Reiko is looking at some imitation guns. You remember this?
He's just like distracted.
Yeah, she's just,
I think Koguma literally walks up and is like, "What did we come here for?"
Right.
And then they laugh, and then the next scene we're out of there or something. Like,
well, yeah, and then Koguma ends up looking at something else that she wants, like a little camp cookware thing of some sort.
Oh, okay.
And then she ends up buying that, and then after they leave the store, Reiko says to Koguma, "What did we come here for again?" Because neither of them bought what they had gone there for. Was the joke there?
Okay.
I think. Anyway, and then happenstance, someone goes by on a cub and has handlebar covers on, and Koguma's like, "Handlebar covers," and Reiko's like, "No, that looks like something people like old fogies would use on their bikes." Yeah, super lame. And Koguma says, "Yeah, I don't care," and she buys some. And then they come in, and then she puts them on her cub, and she tries them out, and she likes them, and then she tells Reiko, "Hey, take my cub. Give it a try with these handlebar covers. Yeah, I think you're gonna like it." And so Reiko does, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna order some too."
Begrudgingly, but she accepts that they're nice.
They're worth looking like an old fogey because they keep your hands warm. I guess.
And who cares what you look like, right?
Reiko does.
Well, yeah, but she learned a lesson here, maybe
a little bit.
in a small way.
she cares more about staying warm than she does what she looks like.
That's good.
I think.
Priorities.
Yeah.
It's important.
Anyway, and then later. Oh, come on. Later, they're back at the Shi's family's cafe, and she is sort of, trying to rush them out. Like, oh, the dinner rush is going to be here any minute. You got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. And they're all like, what? And her dad's like, what? And so it turns out she was trying to get them out before her mom came home, because her mom is an Americanophile. How would you say that word?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm not
because
sure.
Anglophile would be like Britain, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know for the United States what that would be. But yes, and she's embarrassed.
Americanophile.
She's embarrassed by this, even though her dad is clearly like a German, fan otaku, and she is like a Italian or French. I don't know. The restaurant's named
Italy.
is a
It
French.
was Italy.
Yeah, but the restaurant has a French name, so they also have French represented somehow.
That's true.
Somewhere in there. But I wrote down, I just kind of, to sum it up for myself, it's like in the beginning, Reiko and Koguma have coffee and tea. Reiko has coffee, Koguma has barley tea, and they each take a sip of theirs.
Oh, right, when they're standing outside talking. Yeah.
And then they go have the free coffee at the Shi's parents' cafe or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go get the handlebar covers after the store trip that you described. And then they go back to get more coffee, and then they meet the mom, and then they have even more coffee after that. And then at the very end, Koguma contemplates if it's worth buying coffee, because she could just make it at home. And that's the episode.
She does. Yeah. She was like, this, well, I mean, I think she says, like, this cup, stopping there for a cup of coffee cost as much as a tank of gas for my cub.
Yeah.
Which, she's on a budget, so can she really afford to be, having these, what's the word?
Luxuries.
Yeah, I guess luxury is a good. I was trying to think of a word that started with E for some reason, but I couldn't. All I could come up with was exorbitant, but that's not the word I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Extravagances.
That's the word, extravagant. Can she really afford this extravagant coffee?
Yes.
When she could just, buy coffee at home, right?
Even though she likes going there, and it's the atmosphere and the, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which is good, plays into her, getting out of the house and stuff. The fact that she's even thinking about, is this worth the money? That's probably a good step for her. But I don't drink coffee, and I'm not a big fan of caffeine. I'm not saying I didn't like this episode because of that, but it was to me, when I looked back on it, it was very much about coffee.
Centric.
Yeah. And it was okay. Like I wasn't, I'm still enjoying the show and whatnot, but it didn't enhance it at all for me. It's probably like strong 6, maybe. I'd give it.
Yeah. I didn't even write a rating on it. Yeah, it's 6-ish. Nothing major happens in this episode. Nothing super exciting or anything. It's just a little bit more info about Shi.
I did read an article though. I didn't rewatch the episode, but I saw this article today that there was some online controversy. I suppose in Japan, because it's very Japanese centric. But and I don't remember this either. But I'm just assuming Shi, because when they show up with their cubs, Shi just has a bicycle.
Yes.
And then they
fold up bicycle thing.
Yeah. But then does she end up riding on the back of one of theirs, or something?
No. There's Reiko says, "Hey, do you want me to pull you? Like you grab onto the back of my motorcycle and I'll pull you along," sort of thing. And Koguma immediately says, "That's a bad idea. I've seen people go straight into a ditch doing that sort of thing."
Yeah. So they just
So that's what the controversy is that she suggested this.
Well, the controversy has to do with the law in Japan, I guess, that you can't ride on a motorcycle with someone else if you've had that license for less than a year, evidently. And so that's why I was trying to rack my brain, because I remember the scene you described where like, I could, attach it to the cub or whatever. But I was like, did she ride on the? Maybe it was in the manga or something. But the reason I bring it up is they, I don't know who this is. Oh, Katakawa, who's making the anime. So it must have been in the anime. But they put out an official statement basically saying that, like, we're not trying to, condone breaking the law. This is, we kind of in the anime, in the manga, it's more clearly explained, and we kind of just tighten things up for the story. But they do say Honda Motor Company provided its cooperation and supervision only for the designs in Super Cub, and nothing else about the story. So sort of, exonerating them
I see.
from the story content. But I thought that was interesting that at least they had contact. I mean, that explains why they show the actual Honda logo and they signed off on just the design of it.
All right, so it wasn't this episode. This was
Oh.
2 episodes ago that we have
Oh, was
Koguma.
it?
Koguma is driving her cub, and she has Reiko on the back. Remember when they ditch out on the class field trip?
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's the only thing I can think of where there
Okay.
would have been 2 people on a cub.
Yeah,
And
that's
Koguma,
true.
who had her license for less than a year, was driving the cub.
Oh, okay.
So it would have been illegal for her to ride with Reiko on the back, I suppose.
That makes sense, given that they made an official statement that it was, a week old.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was worth noting because I kept wondering. I mean, the controversy aside, but I kept wondering like Honda's involvement because it not only seems like the Super Cub is central to the story and the characters, but also like they show the logo and it's very much like almost seems like an advertisement. So it's cool to know that
In some
they
ways,
didn't
yeah.
get funding for that, but that they had some sort of I don't know, communication with them on
Yeah.
designing it. But anyway, that's all I got on that one.
All right. Well, then I guess we should talk about that spider anime, that spider isekai. What's it called? You know, the spider isekai thing.
Kumako's Nasty Adventures.
Yeah, that's it. Love that show.
So nasty. No,
So I'm a spider. So what?
I haven't seen it, but she seems pretty respectful and chaste.
Maybe.
But anyway, let us know what happened.
Speaking of respectful, Kumako's mother is now dead because Kumako killed her.
Well, yeah, but seemed like she had that coming. She's in cahoots with demon lords and whatnot.
Well, not yet, but it seems like she will be
Okay.
in the future, possibly.
But her mom, that is.
Oh, her mom. Her mom was, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Kumako.
Oh, no.
No. Yeah, that's sort of speculation on my part. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, mother is dead, and the demon lord is occupied elsewhere. So Kumako has returned to her relaxing life of having villagers deliver large baskets of fruit to her every day because they think that she's a deity of some sort. Deity?
Deity or deity? I don't know about deity.
Yeah, that deity sounds wrong. That's why when I said it, I was immediately like, wait. Deity. Deity.
I think those are both
Deity.
good.
Deity. I'm trying to decide which one I like. Deity.
You got to consider the sentence that it's in and how it complements the words around it.
Anyway, so so she's enjoying her life of having free stuff brought to her because she does magic good, I guess. So then, among the people that are coming to visit her, there's an envoy from the Kingdom of Oats, who we've sort of heard of in the past. Maybe don't know a whole ton about, but they're sort of jerks, I guess. Is basically all we know at this point. Anyway, this envoy shows up and says that since Kumako destroyed a fortress when she escaped from the labyrinth, a fortress in Oats, that she's from Oats, so therefore she's the property of the Kingdom of Oats, and basically demands that Kumako go back to Oats with them because they want, I don't know what they want her for, but they are demanding that she return to Oats with them. And Kumako basically just grabs all of her food and runs off and hides in the forest. Sounds like Kumako.
Okay.
And while she's in the woods, administrator, I wrote the name down. I'm not even going to try and say this whole name. Guri is what Kumako shortens it to because it's a long name. What was it? Gurie disto dies. Yeah.
Okay. Goody.
Guri. So Administrator Guri, who we saw before in the labyrinth arc when Kumako was fighting dragons or something like that, he showed up and sort of gave her crap for being too powerful or something, I think, if I remember right. It's a long time ago now. Anyway, this time he shows up, and he's actually very nice and respectful, and says, can you please stop attacking the Demon Lord? And Kumako's like, what are you talking about? I'm not attacking the Demon Lord. And then she thinks about it, and she's like, oh, that's right. My mind, or my body mind, is in the Demon Lord and is probably attacking her soul directly, just like what happened with Mother.
Very conveniently forgot about that, didn't you?
Sort of. And then she's like, oh yeah, no, I can't stop doing that. Like I actually can't. I don't have that connection. I can't call that that mind of mine back from there. So no, I can't stop attacking. And he then says, well then, can you at least stop interacting with the people? Because you're causing problems. And she says, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, she sort of contemplates the idea of it. Like, she could go off and like move away, but then the baby bloodsucker, as she calls her, Sophia, who she knows is a reincarnation, so therefore someone from her class, would be sort of left all alone with these people that have been attacking and things. So she's just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, all right then, and leaves. It's a very oversimplified version of what happened. But anyway, so the envoy from Oats, he's annoyed that Kumiko refused to go with them, and he's kind of a douchebag. So he sends some troops to try and abduct and or kill Kumiko. So she kills all of them, and then she kills him as well with her, telepathy, mind power stuff that she can do. So, and this causes a whole bunch of unexpected consequences, because the kingdom that she's in, which is the kingdom of, I wrote it down here, Sariella. She's in the kingdom of Sariella, and this is an official ambassador type person from the kingdom of Oats. He basically dies inside the castle, stronghold, main house, whatever, of the country of Sarelia. So they're all like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to explain this? And the guy who's in charge of this particular part of the country, which is right next to the kingdom of Oats, he's sort of speculating about why did they send this sort of overeager douchebag guy in the first place. It's like they want a war, and then someone comes running in and says, oh, they've just declared war on us, even before they probably knew about the guy having died or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but anyway, the kingdom of Oats has now declared war on the country where Kumiko is living and protecting the baby bloodsucker. She's the vampire girl, right?
Yes, Sophia,
yeah. Anyway, and so strained relations and everything, and then they declare war on them. And as the troops of Oats and some other kingdoms apparently are all marching towards Sariella. It's going to take me a while on that one, guys. I'm sorry. As they're all marching, it sort of does like a match cut to the army, which is pursuing Shun, with Hugo sort of leading the charge on that one, marching towards the elf village in the future, the 15-year future thing. Anyway, and then the next thing, since we're now into the future, we get to see Sensei sort of reflecting on everything that she's done to try and protect her students, and we basically see her whole backstory of since she's been reincarnated, how she managed to communicate with her father even though she was a baby that couldn't speak. She had telepathy. And then he sort of took up the charge to help protect all of these kids, her former students, who they rescued, air quotes, by kidnapping and or buying and or whatever means necessary to acquire these children and then move them to this place outside the elf village where they all currently reside. And there's a little bit of drama being pulled there, that Sensei feels bad about, what she had to do, but at the same time she had to do it to protect them, because she apparently, one of the abilities that she got when she was reincarnated was the class roster. So she had knowledge of where all of them were, and also when and how they would die.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a hell of a roster.
yeah, so using that, she sort of, I guess, prioritized certain people to ones that were going to die younger or whatever. And yeah, so she protected them all, but part of that is she can't reveal that power to any of the students. Like, she can't tell any of them about it. Apparently she can tell her father, elf father, about it, and that's okay, but she was not allowed to tell any of the students about it. So she can't be like, well, if I hadn't rescued you, you would have died at the age of 6, which is why I, paid an army to come in and invade your town and rescue you, or kidnap you or whatever. But she can't tell them that. So she's got this sort of, guilty conscience, but at the same time believes that everything she did was right, but still feels bad that they all sort of hate her for what she did.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't know that she literally saved them from death.
Okay.
Or a poor fate. Anyway, and Sensei's backstory, and then post credits we see the teenage Sophia, so in the future still, with a little tiny spider on her shoulder, which seems to be her way for communicating with the Demon Lord. And this is where my speculation comes in about what you sort of inadvertently mentioned earlier, was that Kumiko being in cahoots with the Demon Lord. Because right now it seems like they're about to, fight each other, right? But because of Kumiko's relationship with Sophia, like her protecting her and everything, I don't know. Like, it feels like there's something coming together there that honestly we're probably not going to see this season. Maybe it'll be the very end of the season. I don't know.
Okay.
But to me, it seems like there's something there where the Demon Lord and Kumiko and Sophia are all on the same side in the future, even though we haven't seen anything to really directly indicate that. I just don't see how Kumiko and Sophia would end up on opposite sides. Why would Sophia be in cahoots with the Demon Lord? I don't know.
Okay.
So speculation.
Who had a spider on him?
Sophia.
Oh, okay. Like an actual spider? Or?
Yeah, it was just like a little bitty spider, but it was like it was a spider that looked rather like Kumiko or any of the spiders that we've seen in this. It's a little pterodactyl of some sort, which is the name of the spider species.
Okay. There's like a,
but it was like a tiny one, and it was essentially like sort of a communication device, because we saw Sophia talking to it, and then we saw the Demon Lord talking and her voice coming out of this spider, basically. So Sophia is using this to communicate with the Demon Lord.
Okay.
Just a little, communication device of some sort. Baby spider.
Yeah.
Baby spider communication device. All right. That probably covers everything that I have written down about this episode of So I'm a Spider, So What? I'm sure I missed something, and I'm sure someone will let me know in the YouTube comments. They do every week, and I appreciate it. What was the user's name? Vash something. Vash 0355 or something like that.
Shout out to you, Vash.
I look forward to seeing your comments every week. So thank you. But we should move on to Mashiro no Oto.
Those snow white notes.
That's not a good translation. Go ahead.
I can never do anything right.
You didn't translate.
My off-the-cuff Japanese translations don't do it for you, huh? I thought it was pretty good without any homework. We've been covering this show, Shamasen's show. We're finally getting to the final performance of the evening, which is, of course, our group. I forget their Umezono or something like that.
I forget the name of the academy.
Yeah, something like that. They do it. They do it to it. I like the final performance. I know if you were listening last week, Tony had a decent argument for the over explanation and reaction of everyone in the audience of what's happening. And granted, with these performances, there's a large amount of people gathered, and so we're getting a lot of reactions. And of course, this is the main attraction we've been waiting for, and so get even more of that probably.
Yeah.
But I like the performance itself. I thought it was cool. Like, Setsu ended up supporting everyone. He's way more. He's overqualified compared to everyone else. But he kind of, I wrote some names down. Kaito is the ex soccer player, but I guess he always goes out of tune. So Setsu had him pluck harder at the start, and Setsu kind of backed him softly to kind of elevate him, picking him up. And then in the second part, he had Rai, who's the guy that doesn't open his eyes, is probably the second most accomplished or experienced player.
Yeah.
And is also has a bunch of groupies too for some reason.
He's very handsome, I guess.
I guess, yeah, he's tall too. His blue hair. But then in the second part, he had Rai. He had talked to him the end of last week episode to do like some sort of fluttering, in the shamisen and during that piece, and that part was cool. And then at the end, Setsu got to shine a little bit as well, while the other two ladies kind of, just were there, I guess. I don't know. They didn't really play a major role in their performance.
They were holding tempo, which was an important step for them, and playing mostly all the right notes.
Yeah,
I think is what they said. Yeah,
which
pretty
is
good. So
just good.
They did the bare minimum required, which was everything that they could muster. So they worked their butts off to meet the bare minimum.
Make that happen.
Yeah, I mean they're total newbies. So
yeah,
I mean I guess so is a soccer player guy.
Yeah, that's true.
But all he had to do was hammer one string really loud for a while.
Yeah.
So that was his only.
And then he was good.
Yeah. So I guess my problem with the performance, you mentioned you liked the performance. I wish we just got to hear the whole thing instead of them cutting away to dramatic music every couple of minutes. Like we hear the one part and then we, cut away to some conversation about it that happened in the past. And there's like this other dramatic music playing over it, violins and whiny stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then we come back and we hear like the second part of the performance and then we cut away again. And, I would just like to see the whole thing. Like, they didn't do that in Love Live.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But
let the music
show.
speak for itself.
Yeah.
Because it's like during some of those parts, especially when you get like the string swelling, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to evoke what it feels like for the people that are there.
Right.
But yeah, like to me, the music already sounds nice and fitting for what's happening.
Yeah.
So.
If they just let that music play while having these audience commentary reactions inside their own heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, be totally fine with that. But they seem to want, I don't know, they're trying to make it more dramatic.
Yeah, which, we talked about this last week too, but they're adapting the manga as the original source material. So I'm sure in that context, it makes a lot more sense because you can't actually hear the music.
Yeah.
So they're like, instead of trusting the music they've recorded, which I think is generally good and works for,
sounds good to
the
me.
scene it's in.
I don't know a lot about shamisen, but
yeah, me neither.
Sounds good to me. I like listening to it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, it's like instead of like just standing behind that, they're still including a lot of these parts from the manga. I'm just guessing here, the long running manga. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, it didn't take me completely out of it, but it was like for me a bit of an annoyance of like, all right, let's just get back into it,
Right. Yeah. That's basically how I felt as well.
But it's also probably adapting this into an anime is probably used to pad out some of the time. I'm sure when you're reading, this performance in particular, probably you get through a lot quicker than
maybe
this like first half plus of an episode.
I wonder how many pages.
Yeah, this one performance is.
I mean, based on nothing but speculation and conjecture on my part, I'm going to guess that this performance was an entire chapter. Like 20-ish pages, probably.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, complete conjecture and speculation. No idea.
But so after they perform, I thought it was interesting because generally people enjoyed it. You hear some comments of like, oh, it was, very serviceable and kind of just average, but they did it really well. And people seem to think it was fun compared to a lot of their performances. But then it cuts to Setsu's mom, who, hot mom syndrome, who not only is hosting this competition and, is probably the reason it's happening at all, but also named the cup after Setsu's grandfather, I think Matsugoro it is or something.
Her father, right?
Yeah, her father is disappointed and did not have fun because he's not in her mind, carrying the torch that her dad did.
What was the point in naming this the Matsugoro Cup?
Yeah, yeah. If not to,
if you're not even gonna play his style,
if you're not even gonna rip off what he was doing, even though he told you on his deathbed to
not do that.
Yeah, to give up if that's what you were gonna do. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of her character.
I don't think we're supposed to be.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I don't think
he's not a big fan of her character.
That's true.
So.
I mean, I'm not just a big fan. It's not that I just don't like her, and I don't know. It's not like I feel like she's a well-written I hesitate to call her a villain, but
she's a foil of some sort.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That's exactly right. She just feels like a foil to me, not an actual, person that we're meant to care about, and so it's kind of takes me out of it, but. I like the main people, but yeah. So that's most of the episode, and then we get to hear how they did. We get to hear the rankings, and
they got third.
They got third place, and they weren't.
Which is better than any of them should have expected, probably. I guess.
I know, but they were somehow still disappointed.
Well,
with it.
Yeah. I mean, they still had hopes of doing better.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't listen to all the other performances either. They listened to some of them, but they didn't listen to all of them, so they didn't necessarily know exactly what they were up against or anything. But when the final rankings come in, it seems like they sort of understand why they got third, and why the other teams placed above them that did. But they still wanted first, I guess.
Yeah. It seemed like because it was like the top 6 or 10 or
they did
something
six,
like that.
Top 6, I think.
Top 6.
They did, yeah.
And I think when they weren't in the bottom 3, they were like, "Oh, we're probably not in it at all."
We're not in it at all, yeah.
And then they were in third, and then they were disappointed they weren't higher. I'm like,
right.
"Well, make up your dang mind! What do you want from this?" And then my
If you're not first, you're last, George. You know this. Everyone knows this.
Yes, yeah, the old maxim. It's helped so many people in life. Mai's team got second.
Yeah.
Also upset.
Because she didn't get first.
Yeah. But she also beat Setsu's team. So you think...
she didn't really care that much about that, I don't think.
Yeah.
She cares more about the individual competition.
Yes, that's true.
In that regard.
Yeah.
But she's not even in, right?
Well, I think she is.
Did they let her in, though?
I think she is. Because I think they ended up letting her in last minute for both.
Oh, okay.
I think. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, they might as well, right?
You'll see.
Yeah. I'll see. Oh, a spoiler. Anyway, so her team got second, and then some other team went first, and we didn't even see play. I don't think
we did. See.
Oh, we
them
did
play.
see them.
Yeah.
No one else did, or because they were like, oh, or at least Mai didn't, because somebody was like, her brother was like, you didn't even see them play.
Mai was off looking for Setsu at that point, I think.
Oh, okay.
But
I remember their faces, but I don't remember oh yeah, they were, that was cool.
It was something like they were all handsome, I guess.
Oh,
so
okay.
all the girls were like, "Woo!" Yeah, there was that, and they played well technically, and they played proficiently. They didn't do anything amazing or outstanding, but as an ensemble, they were all sort of on the same level. There was no big standout in Mai's group where Mai is the standout and everyone else is just supporting her.
Yeah.
They were all playing together as an ensemble, and that's ultimately why they got first, is because it's ensemble and performance. So if the whole ensemble plays at the same competent level, and they play well together as an ensemble, then it makes sense, I guess.
No, yeah, I understand it. I just didn't remember them playing.
I'm pretty sure we saw it, or at least part.
I'm not saying they didn't. We got 3 or 4 in a row of that one episode.
Yes,
so
it was in that episode.
Yeah, so they all kind of ran together a little bit, and they were all kind of plain looking to me. But I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, but I won't. And then there's a special award that the judges give to
crowd favorite or something. Is that what it was, or something like that?
I just remember them calling it a special award or special acknowledgement. I don't know. It seemed kind of just tacked on, but I guess it is a thing in competitions, right? Of like Critics' Choice or something like that, or like
Well, yeah, like so at like a film festival or something like that, you've got all the critics that watch the movies ahead of time. They don't really watch it with the
Yeah.
audiences and stuff at the film festivals, and they all assign their scores and everything. But then, as an audience member at a film festival, you get a ballot when you go in to see a movie or to see a series of movies, I guess. And you get to vote on, what you think the best was, and then that's the audience choice. And obviously,
Yeah.
they didn't have the audience voting in this one, so it's not actually an audience choice, but it was something like that,
I took it it was definitely judges something or other, but I took it as like, because when they performed our main group who won this award, people were like, oh, that was fun. Like it was more fun than the other ones. So I just took that to mean like they didn't work the best as an ensemble maybe compared to the others, but it was just a fun romp. They
it was a
their
unique
performance.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stood out. And then they show like the points, like the actual point placement, and it was like 1 to 3 points difference between the top three. So it was like
Yeah, it was 40, 41, 43, I think.
something like that. Yeah,
On the points.
between each one, it was just a few.
I don't know why I remember that. But I could picture it in my head.
Wow. So yes. Yeah, and I guess that's mostly it. They at the end they're sort of still, even though they won the special award, our group is still kind of feeling emotionally drained and not entirely satisfied with how things turned out. Which on one hand, it's like angsty and naive, but then on the other hand, I'm like, okay, like you really put yourself out there. It came together. You're in a flow state. You were vulnerable, and you didn't win first place. So it's like you can do better. And so I don't know. It's like the pain of knowing that you can strive for more. I don't know. There's something there of like the power of never being an artist never being satisfied. Like their new project's always their most treasured and precious thing until they move on and do the next. And yeah.
Yeah, and they are also teenagers, so they are angsty and naive.
Yes.
So
For real, yeah. Well, especially Mai, because she's like whining like a little baby about like that she didn't win first, and then once Setsu's team wins the special award, she's like, did I not really beat him in this? She's still thinking in those terms of winning instead of bettering herself. But yeah, you're right. They're still teenagers. So, and which that takes me to my last note, which doesn't really it's just a nitpicking thing that I thought was funny. But at the very end, Setsu is at his apartment with his older brother and like another friend, and they're like talking and stuff. And then the downstairs girl, who's always sweet to him, and her dad owns this restaurant, whatnot, brings food to them, presumably for free, right? She just drops off food, and then she has like beer too.
Yeah.
And Setsu takes the food and is like, oh no, they're not. They may look it, but they're not old enough either. I'm like, well, what the hell, dude? Like, you just had this stressful competition, and it's a very long day. It was 3 episodes long.
Yeah.
Have some beer. And also, his brother totally looks like of age. No, I mean he's got a lot of facial hair going, and he's all like
I'm
accomplished.
not actually sure what the drinking age in Japan is. I thought it was like 18.
Oh, really? Well, that would be even more.
And yeah, even if it's 21, he could be 20, I guess, maybe. But yeah, I thought it was 18. I might be wrong. I don't know.
And I was like, maybe his brother is of age, and he's just being a dick. Like,
maybe
he's not only denying him free beer, but is like, saying he's like younger than he is. I don't know.
Maybe. I guess that's possible.
This guy ain't no adult.
I mean, Setsu's like in high school, and his brother's out of high school, so.
But even Setsu looks older than a high schooler, but it's just because he's quiet and he's stern, I guess.
Is he second year, or are they third years? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember.
They never really like focus on that too much.
I'm sure it's been mentioned. I just don't remember.
Probably.
But anyway, so the remainder of my notes say basically, well, that's the group competition over. Yay! And now I'm left wondering if I care at all about this anime anymore, because all that's left is the individual competition, which is Setsu, who I don't really like. I like the other characters better. And I mean, I guess they'll be there cheering him on, but do I really care enough to keep watching this? I don't know. We'll see what next week brings when it comes around time to watch this next Friday. It's a Friday
So
one,
you're
right?
on the brink of dropping it. You're just so close, but
It's not that it's bad or anything. It's just, I'm not like super. I don't feel any sort of real draw to continue watching it at this point. Like I feel like it's played out the arc that I cared about, and now it's going to go into this other mini arc of some point that I don't as much care about. I don't know.
I hear you, and I'll be watching it regardless. So for the podcast, it's not really an issue. But I wonder. I would be disappointed if they stretched this out into another 3 episodes. I suppose they certainly could, but it feels like there was a lot more to go into. Granted, we saw in these last 3 episodes, we saw a lot of performances, but there's also a lot of like melodrama and like we got some emotional stuff going on between different characters. It wasn't all just watching people perform. So I wonder with the individual ones, I imagine Setsu and Mai Mai are gonna clash at some point, and we're gonna learn more about these other. Like there was the one
Again, I'm not sure that Mai Mai's in the competition. I remember her showing up and wanting to be in the competition and sort of demanding that she be let in the competition because of all of her accomplishments, and I thought she was told no, but
I don't know. I remember it differently because I think it was for her to be in it at all. So like the group competition, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought I don't know. So I'll let you know if you don't watch it. But yeah, I would be disappointed if they stretch this out for another 3, unless they had something really good to some
How many are
emotional-
left? I put a new thing on your sheet. It says episode 9 of.
Oh wow, fancy.
I don't have it on my sheet.
9
so.
of 12.
Oh, so
10,
there's
11,
3
12,
left.
3 more. So
Yeah.
they, given the numbers, they could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what else it would end with. It's not like we have anything else, unless they're going to set it up for the next season. This is a very long-running manga. Wrong-longing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm with you though. Like, I can't fault you for dropping it because it's like there's been plenty of shows like this that I've dropped this season alone, where I felt similarly, but for whatever reason, I'm still, I just want this one to do better.
Yeah, it just sort of feels fairly middling, and like I say, we got to the point that I cared about. Now I'm not sure I care anymore.
Yeah.
Like Setsu to me is the least interesting character in this whole thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
Well, we'll find out next week what happens.
shall we move on to the shorts and ONAs block?
Let's do it.
All right. So first up, we've got Gloomy, the Naughty Grizzly, episode 8. In this episode, our boy, what's his name? Pity, I think. I looked it up.
I have no idea.
It says on one of the sheets there, but I think his name is Pity. He's pitiful. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, he apparently forgot to feed Gloomy, although we don't know that at the very beginning, so spoilers, I guess. Anyway, Gloomy comes in with his food bowl and is like sort of nudging him like, hey,
Is he
Kuma.
sleeping?
Kuma, because he's sleeping, yeah. Kuma. And then he gets fed up with that and just starts mercilessly beating him in his sleep.
And he sleeps through all of this.
Yeah, he sleeps through all of it. And then the next day, the boy wakes up and is like, sees the food dish and is like, oh, I forgot to feed you dinner last night. Well, good job on controlling yourself. And there's blood running down his face. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's move on to Eden, episode 1. So new ONA. It's on Netflix. I believe it's 4 episodes. All 4 of the episodes are out on Netflix. We're going to be covering them one by one each week. So this week we'll be talking about episode 1. And when I say we, I mean I, because George was going to watch this, but he had a little vacation this week and didn't quite get to this one.
Yep, ran out of time.
So
Tell me all about it.
I am like most of my notes don't go a lot into story. It's more of just like my impressions of it. So it's 3D CG animation, and it's okay. Not very good, but kind of okay on the 3D CG. The story is fine. I'm hopeful that it may upgrade from fine to good at some point. It seems interesting enough. There are only 4 episodes, so I don't know how much they can do in 4 1-hour episodes. Or not even 1 hour, 25 minute, I think.
I don't know.
I don't remember. I have that information on a different piece of paper somewhere. It does seem like maybe it's aimed at a younger audience, not necessarily a kids show, but it has a sort of kids-ish vibe to it. It's reminiscent of a show made for kids. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 25 minutes each.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up.
Thank you. Anyway, so I guess the basic premise of the story is sometime in the future, humans have been extinct for 1,000 years. A robot society has formed, and the robots do, all the labor and stuff. One of the things they do is they gather fruit off of fruit trees and then put them in these pods, and these pods get sent to this giant cube thing that's just sitting sort of on the horizon or whatever. And we didn't really know much about that. But one day, a couple of the robots are out, doing their apple picking, and near some tree they find like this sort of pod thing that's been uncovered somehow. We don't know, earthquake or I don't know what happened. Anyway, they find this and they open the pod, and inside is a human child, baby-ish. I think she speaks some words, so she must be at least 3 or something.
Toddler.
Yeah, she must be at least 2 or 3 when they find her. Anyway, and they're saying like, oh, we have to report this because humans are dangerous, because I'm assuming, with the whole dystopian thing that we get in sci-fi things, usually, humans have destroyed the world or something, right? So they're like, humans are dangerous, we have to report this, but they don't, and then 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 they don't, and then, next thing we know, she's like 12 or 13 or something like that. And
just never got around to that. It's like cleaning the basement.
Yeah. And it goes on like that for a little while, and then they are trying to connect with this sort of subculture of robots that is actually into the whole human thing, I guess. But then all of those people get arrested by the robots that are in the ruling class, apparently. So then they're like, well, we have to hide her. We have to go into hiding. So they just hightail it out of town, and they end up finding some guy who lives out in the middle of the desert who knows that humans exist and doesn't think they're all evil or something like that. I don't know. And by guy, I mean robot, because everyone's a robot except for this girl. Anyway, so they go into hiding out in the middle of nowhere, and they raise her, and then she now has sort of curiosity about this robot society that she is being kept apart from, because they would probably kill her if they saw her. I don't know. Yeah. And it just sort of introduces the concept of it, and leaves it sort of open on exactly where it's going to go. It's an interesting enough story. Again, it's only 4 episodes, so it's like, oh.
Yeah. Like, they haven't really
what can you do?
They haven't really already introduced a major quest or point.
Yeah. Well, so the giant cube, I forget what they call them, but the giant cube. There is something that is introduced that is basically like she is interested in this cube thing and what it's about, but it's super dangerous there for her now. Yeah, I don't know. I would say watch it. It's not that long. Watch the first episode. If you're not into it, that's fine. I'm marginally into it. Like I say, the 3D CG is not very good. So if you can get past that and just focus on story, there's not a ton, but it's a good introduction to the world and the characters and stuff. So I don't know that I particularly like this main character girl very much, to be honest. She's okay, but she's sort of a snotty little brat. She's been sort of raised in isolation and sort of always gets her way sort of thing, and it's not good enough for her anymore, always getting her way, I guess.
She wants more.
And then the last thing I have here is on why do the robots harvest fruit and send it to the cube, right? Like, that's sort of the question. Like, there must be humans living inside there or something, presumably. Like, why else would they?
Yeah.
Why
They're
would
like the elite, the only humans left. That
Yeah,
they think.
they all went in. And so this cube is like whatever they call it, number 3. So there are more of them around as well, but this is, the one that is nearest. Anyway,
maybe it's just like a human ant farm, a human farm.
Maybe, but you can't see inside or anything, and the robots don't seem to interact with it other than sending the fruit through these conveyor tube things.
Interesting.
So I don't know. But yeah, that's Eden. Again, I would say check it out. I hope you, George, will find the time to.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Well, no, I'm talking to everybody, but now I'm talking specifically to you.
Okay. I'll start listening.
I hope that you find the time to watch this episode and the second episode by next week.
I will give it my best.
All right.
I'm also trying to get caught up on Sailor Moon Crystal, but
oh yeah, that's right.
We'll see.
And I am not.
Yes. Stay tuned for that, or don't. Well, who knows what'll happen?
That's next week's episode, right?
Yeah,
a week from today.
Yeah,
when that comes out. Okay, all right.
So
yeah, this might not be the week for it, I guess.
We'll see. I'll see how episode 2 goes for you. If you're like, oh my god, they really tied it together, and now I can't wait.
I'm hopeful, but
yeah,
not expecting as much.
Well, speaking of lackluster ONAs with questionable 3D CG animation,
what could you be talking about?
There is a new show that you told me about called Artiswitch.
Yes, and after having told you about it and having watched this, I found out that it seems like this episode that you and I have both watched is a preview, basically a pre-release of a show that's going to be next season.
Oh.
So the next episode is not coming out until like July something.
Oh, okay.
But pre-screening sort of thing of episode 1 of something for next season.
Pre-release.
So it's a little like our preview show. Like what will we be watching? Will we be watching this?
Nope.
Doubtful.
Well, first of all, and it felt like an ad for lipstick. Put that out there.
I didn't get that, but okay.
No.
No, I mean, it felt like an art experiment. Like it felt like very much like a sort of avant-garde film. Like it jumps around and like there's sort of weird stuff happening that's not ever explained. And but it definitely felt like art.
Yeah, I mean, it visually was trying to, stand out, but didn't really connect with the, this story of the characters. Like it was just like just any excuse to get to that point of trippy psychedelic stuff. Which it seems like there's probably some sort of message embedded in there. I mean, this episode particularly had, I thought, kind of an obvious message about just be yourself. Don't be, because the not the main character, because the main character is the girl that works in the shop that we see, but the person that we follow from the beginning of the episode basically is sort of like, oh, that's not my thing. And then like she gets sort of questioned about that. Well, what is your thing? Like what makes something your thing? And like, well, she picks up the red lipstick and she's like, oh, do you want that? And she's like, I don't think it's for me.
Right.
And then they go on like a psychedelic trip thing. And then it cuts to her like looking in a mirror, like putting on red lipstick as if she now likes that. I don't know. That's where it felt like an ad to me. Because there's a part after that with this girl you're talking about at the behind the counter. Like, it's like, oh, we did it again. Like, who can we sell to next time or something like that?
Right. Well, it's not always going to be about lipstick. It's just that this particular girl was a sort of boyish girl, I guess. And she seemed to have sort of ingrained those thoughts in her that like she's not a lipstick girl because she's boyish, I guess, right?
I guess, yeah.
And this was
she has like short hair and
right. And the idea was that this person, our main character at this Artiswitch shop, was sort of challenging that and saying, well, who's to say what is you and what is not you? You are you. So do you like it or not? Because she seemed like she was interested. Like that was the first thing she picked up and seemed like she was like, but then I don't know. It definitely seemed like it was trying to have a message. I'm not saying the message was strong and clear. I sort of got that from it, but really, it's not really my thing. I actually thought you would like it more. It sounds like you like it less than I do.
I feel like you're giving it way too much credit.
Yeah,
but
I might be. I mean, from the moment it started, I knew what sort of thing it was, as far as being like very artistic in expression, without like filling in all the details or anything. Just sort of an artistic interpretation of a feeling, basically, I guess. So I think I just kind of was like, yeah, not my thing, but I'll watch it, and I just sort of was willing to go on the ride at that point.
Yeah, and it's short. So, it's only like 8 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's not super long or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but it felt like something that like, oh, this could go on like someone's film reel, like whatever animator, but it doesn't feel like a well thought out finished product to me. Like it just felt like kind of like a thing to do, like almost like a school project or something. Like we're just trying to show what we can do with this.
There's not a story. There's an idea.
Yeah,
and that's all we get was an idea.
Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, as far as like the visual style and stuff of it goes, I wasn't really the style of art that I generally like in anime, but it was fine, I guess. I mean, it was 3D CG, as you said, and not super well done in that, but the art style was fine.
Yeah. There was some interest, like in that psychedelic trippy scene. There's some interesting like geometric shapes and like colors, and like it looks cool, like for like 30 seconds or whatever. Like, but there, there's nothing really. It's not driving home anything impactful for me of what I just watched, but yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's if there's going to be more of them.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll see if it holds up with episode 2.
Yeah, we'll see.
In 2 months.
We'll see how many things I'm watching at that point and whether I want to.
Exactly. Well, it's only 8 minutes, so
Yeah.
All right. Well, that I think does it for. I said really dumbly there.
Like anime.
Does it for the shorts and ONAs block, and we can move on to Saturday. These are all the Saturday things now.
My Hero Academia's.
That's on Saturday.
First up.
Yeah.
On the block.
Episode number 10 of this season, if you count episode 0 as episode 1, and episode 98 overall. We're nearly at 100 episodes.
And we're finally to the final match of Class A versus Class B.
That's right. Match number 5.
Very long class function.
We got Deku, we got Uraraka, we've got Grape Juice, we've got Alien Girl. What's her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on that list somewhere.
Whatever she shoots.
Yeah. Jizz, right?
I mean, that's what I always think, but I don't think it's glue. I don't know what it is.
Goo.
Not glue, but goo.
Some sort of goo, I think.
Okay.
Alien,
so you get some
alien goo.
You get some goo off. She's done. She's crying in a corner.
Yes. Yeah, so you go ahead. I have very minimal notes on this. So.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the fight starts and Deku is just gonna. They're almost kind of like taking a similar tact as Bakugo's team initially, where Bakugo just kind of stormed ahead.
Yeah.
Deku's doing the same thing. He's just storming ahead, and he comes across I don't know his name. We have these. I guess I should use this, but
now you got to find it.
It's the I know on this huge list of characters, but it's that smarmy character who's like always in a suit and is always like talking big. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Mr. Douchington?
Yeah, that guy. God, I'm looking, but it's taking too long.
There's a lot of characters there.
Is there more than one page?
Oh, there's the back side of the page.
Oh, God, he's probably in the back.
There might even be a third page. I don't know.
Oh, Monoma, I guess.
Monoma? Okay.
That's him.
Let's go with that then.
But anyway, they're kind of facing off, and Monoma's trying to like I don't know. He's trying to like psych him out. He's like we already found your other 3 members, and like.
So right before they meet up, Monoma has a conversation with Shinso,
brainwashing guy,
and says, "How did you get Deku to answer you?" And he says, "Oh, well, I talked shit about his classmates and riled him up." Right?
Yeah.
So he seems to be
doing
applying
a
that
thing,
similar tactic. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, given what happens, I would have imagined that he would have said some more messed up things. Because really all he says is like, as I recall, he's like threatening Bakugo, who's not even in this on their team.
I mean, he's just talking trash about Bakugo, I think, or something, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason...
Or sort of saying, like, yeah, Deku, like, that strategy worked for Bakugo because Bakugo had the support, but you suck, Deku. Something like that. I don't know.
Well, I remember something like that, but, like, the last thing he said was that, you know, I don't know, along the lines of a threat against Bakugo or...
That's true. That was the thing that really set Deku off, right?
It sets him off, which I guess. I mean, it's not like... I feel like if it would have been more against... Uraraka.
It's his childhood friend. Like I don't know. I think he cares more about Bakugo than a lot of these other people that he's just recently met, probably.
I guess so.
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, so he starts to... I mean, he doesn't necessarily freak out that much, but like his power does. And it starts shooting off these green things. It's almost like a... Not even a spider, more legs than a spider. Like, I don't know. It's kind of just consuming
a tree of lightning.
Yeah, green lightning.
Yeah.
Green, that should be his superhero name.
Can I interrupt your
Sure.
your recap really quick? So at the beginning, we see All for One in prison, right?
I don't remember that.
That was at the very beginning of the episode. And we see him,
remember.
and the prison guards are talking about it, and he says, "Oh, it's not time yet," or something, which is the whole vestiges thing. And then we get another sort of small dose of revelatory information about the vestiges, right? Although more of that's coming up. So anyway,
yes, I don't remember the All for One scene, but
no, at the very beginning.
I don't know. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't remember it.
Okay.
I watched all these on my iPad, so who knows? At the Grand Canyon. But anyway, so he has his power freak out, and then it pretty much like derails everything. At a certain point, Uraraka is like trying to get Shinso to brainwash Deku to try to stop it because nothing they're doing is helping.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it ruins the whole fight because Deku is like screaming, "Get away from me! I can't control it!" And stuff like
no one
that.
can get near
like,
him,
and the teachers are like, "Should we get involved in this? Like, it seems like something's going wrong here."
Yeah. Which is exactly something that I was expecting would happen. Yeah. Like that would, unexpected and not, what we're supposed to be doing. And then, I forget exactly what happens, but Shinso does something and then it kind of knocks Deku out. And then we go into his.
Well, Shinso brainwashes him. He says something and gets Deku to respond. He says something like, what is it? "Let's fight, Deku," or something like that. And Deku says, "Yeah." And then. So then Shinso has brainwashed him and is now in control of him, and that causes the power overload thing to subside. Because the reason that the power overload is happening is because Deku is angry, basically, which is, we end up inside Deku's head, basically.
Yeah.
So
you
can continue from there.
No, you're fine. I just keep trying to wrap it up and you add more information, which is fine. There's more information to be had. But essentially he talks to, I don't know this guy's name, but he's one of the vestiges, and he talks to him.
I don't know his name either.
In his head. And
I think it's on the sheet.
I'm not done looking at it. But he's one of the vestiges, and this is evidently one of his quirks has a name. Green lightning is what it should be. But I don't think it is. And so I mean all of this is in service of learning that Deku can learn 6 more quirks.
Yes.
And
basically he's going to over time pick up all of the quirks of the previous holders of One for All.
Yeah. Which is we've already been introduced. I mean not introduced, but we already saw all these vestiges in one of his visions. Before the start of this season. So I don't know. It's like, it's interesting. Like the idea of him having like all these quirks seems cool. But I don't know. Like I'm just questioning. I don't know. I'm still excited to see more like this battle. you know, 'cause he learns that, but he also gets sort of a pep talk about what you were hinting at, you know, control your emotions and
Right.
quit being an idiot, and and whatnot. Nothing really that profound, but he seems to take it to heart. And at the end of the episode, once he has come to, the teachers are allowing the battle to continue. It seems, and
Yep.
and
Back to the punching.
he seems ready to you know, do it again. This time with feeling, or maybe not with
Maybe
feeling.
less feeling. Yeah. Keep those emotions in check, Deku.
Once more without feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the explanation is that, like, because the emotion that sort of sparked it was anger, that was this vestige's ability was most closely related to that, and that's why it came out. But because Deku still doesn't have complete control of the ability, he can't control. He didn't have these abilities before. He hasn't learned to control these abilities like he
Just
has
going
the other
haywire.
ones. So when he lets it out, it just goes wah. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I was confused about, like, what about the quirk he has now, which is just essentially like flicking or punching or kicking? Will he have
that's
6
like-
more quirks in addition to that, or is that already one of them?
Well, that's All Might's, and All Might's not dead, so All Might is not one of the vestiges yet.
Okay.
I believe. So
Yeah.
6 more in addition to that, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah,
Um,
all right. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's My Hero Academia. Look forward to another episode of Nothing But Punching, and then maybe we'll get something interesting.
Does that interest you? The more quirks? I don't know.
I mean, it was interesting enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that there was more. I mean, there wasn't as much of this part of the story as I would like. Like, I would have liked this whole season to be about all of this, and
Yeah.
not so much about them punching each other. But, you know, it's sort of intercut with them punching each other. And like I say, that sort of foreshadowing thing with All for One at the beginning, which you apparently didn't notice, leads me to believe there's more coming later. I mean, this is 25 episodes, so we've still got a whole nother season of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I guess we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Um,
You're not dropping
maybe
it then.
maybe go back and watch the first 2 minutes of this episode again.
Okay,
though,
all
George.
right. Yeah, get off my back, Dad.
It's all right, son. Your mother and I
Oh my God.
I was gonna make sex jokes, but I don't know what to say. Sex jokes.
Yeah, this isn't a sex podcast. It's not our area of expertise.
Speaking of sex podcasts, next up we've got I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. Yeah.
Sex as in it's all female gendered?
They are all
characters?
female gendered, and there's a bit more fan service in this one than there had been in previous episodes. So essentially the story here that's going on is Red Dragon Girl and Blue Dragon Girl. I know their names, but I'm not saying them because you don't care. I don't care. It's fine. They're still trying to one-up each other. They're, sort of fighting without actually fighting, since they're not allowed to fight anymore because of the sort of ceasefire agreement that they have. Anyway, they're still trying to one-up each other, and then some villager comes and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, there's a horde of wild boars that are causing trouble up in the mountains there." And Azusa says, "Yeah, well, I don't really need any more experience because I'm already like max level." And the lady from town says, "Oh, well, you don't get experience from these boars. They're not monsters. They're just, creatures. So all you get is like a big chunk of meat." And then the two dragon girls are like, "Meat?" Because they haven't had meat in a while, apparently. So then, Azusa and the two dragon girls go up to the mountains to kill some boars. And they do. And moving on. No, just kidding. So the fan service part that I was talking about, when they're in the mountains, Rosalie goes along, Ghost Girl. Rosalie goes along with them, and she's sort of scouting out ahead of them as they're sort of wandering up these mountain trails. And she says, "Oh, I saw a big herd of boars, like straight ahead of where you are. If you just keep going straight, you'll run into them. But of course, the path doesn't go that way. Rosalie is a ghost, so she can fly through trees and brush and all that kind of stuff." But Blue Dragon Girl, being so overexcited to go get some meat, just goes barreling off into the forest, and her clothes get snagged on some trees and bushes. So she decides that the best course of action is to take off all of her clothes and then go running through the bushes. So that's the fan service bit. Anyway, so then they go and they find the boars and they kill all the boars and then they eat the boars and then they're happy. And then that's the first half of the episode. In the second half of the episode, there's someone going around pretending to be the Witch of the Highlands, saying, "Yeah, I'm the Witch of the Highlands. Aren't I cool?" It turns out it's this girl that has come up with these magic pills of some sort, and I don't know. It's pretty boring. So, and that is the episode. that's basically it. I mean, Azusa goes and sort of confronts her, and then finds out this information about her, and she doesn't join the clan. She doesn't move into Azusa's like everyone else has. She just decides to stop impersonating the Witch of the Highlands and then just sell her magic pills to people, which she could have done in the first place, but whatever. I don't get it. Doesn't matter. Let's move on to Shadow's House episode 8. There's probably more interesting things going on there.
All right. Sometimes you have just a week with not much going on.
Yeah, it was a very filler sort of episode. It was, fan service, and it was sort of 2 episodes in one, and whatever.
Just kind of like,
whatever.
Yeah. All right.
So Shadow's House.
Shadow's House. We're continuing on with the debut, and it's the garden maze part of the debut, second phase, I guess.
Yeah.
And we learned that we learned a few things. I mean, Kate is in a cage that's overhanging like a very thorny, area, bushy. I don't know. It doesn't look good for her. But
a thicket.
Oh, there you go. I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Briar Patch.
Briar Patch. Yeah.
But then she learns, because she's often just nervous, I think, or like anxious. So she most always we see her with like a soot trail, slowly leaving her head, and so presumably that's been happening this entire time she's been captured. And then she notices that the soot is one of the chains. There's several chains that's like holding this cage, and one of them breaks. And then she notices that the soot is like going into the cage, and so it's she assumes correctly that it is related. The more soot she excretes, the faster this cage is going to fall. So there's like, oh my god, better hurry. I don't know, like. I like this show a lot. This episode felt like a little lackluster to me. There's a part in the first half where Emilico and Rum are together, and they're just like, I forget what they're trying to find things. Oh yeah, they find all these like little soot things, and they're trying to kill them all. And like there's this whole like just scene of them running around, and it's just pretty boring to me. Like it was just like seemed like
they had to go through this dangerous passage that someone told them about. I don't remember.
I think it was John, because he had,
right. Oh, because he had
come
fallen
from Kate.
And he came out of there. That's right. And he says, you have to go through that to get to where Kate is. They go through, and Rum's all like, I'm scared, and Emilico's all like, I'll get them, and starts smashing them, and they make it through, and that's all good, I guess.
But there's this whole like, Looney Tunes comes to mind. There's a whole sequence of them just running around back and forth, and running from these soots, and then like smashing them and stomping them, and but anyway, so then we get through that.
We get through that, and we get to sort of part of the path that Lou has already been through with her shears, where she's cut a hole in the hedge already. Yeah. And I think actually before that, doesn't Lou find her master?
Yeah,
and then her master is like a super mean to Ricky, who has been sort of partnered with Lou this whole time.
Yeah. Well, she did. I think she's like obsessed with Lou and like her appearance, which is like her just being obsessed with herself, I guess.
Yes.
So anyone else can just go to heck.
Yeah. I guess so.
But so he's just kind of like,
she's kind of mean to Ricky.
Yeah. And so they, I don't know. Ricky goes off on his own, I guess.
Ricky still has to go find Patrick, right?
Well, yeah.
And Lou has found her master now, and so they just have to get out. And then Ricky's just sort of on his own, which is, fine, because that's essentially what happens with Emilico and Rum at this point. They really reach that sort of crossroads where
they got to part ways.
You have to go through here because that's where your master is, whose name we forget, but Rum also doesn't know it, I guess, or something. Because
that's something we learn.
Speak.
The only interesting thing I thought from this, not the only interesting thing, but the most interesting thing from this episode for me was, learning more about Rum's backstory and the fact that she's never spoken to her Shadow's
Shadow Master.
Yeah, Shadow Master.
Yeah. And her name isn't even really Rum. Because her master didn't give her a name. She She just made it up.
And I liked it because it explains why she has an imaginary friend in her like pinky finger is because she literally has had no one to talk to, and so it's sort of a dark psychological thing about her just being lonely, even though she's surrounded by is with someone. But then Emilico, I don't know. I thought it was interesting when she like sugarcoats the whole thing. Where she's like, "Well, think of it this way. Maybe like the reason she doesn't emit any soot, I guess too." And so Emilico's like, "Oh, you're doing your job then. She's not fretting over anything, and maybe she just is quiet like you, and so you guys are similar that way." And then after that, they part ways, and it seemed like Emilico like had a look on her face, like, was that right? Was that I don't know if I was reading into it, but I kind of got that of her being like, I don't know about that. But anyway, we got to move on. I got to go find Kate, so I can't dwell on that too long.
Yeah, which she does. She gets close enough that Kate can hear her anyway, right?
Yeah, Kate hears her, which I was like, is she just close, or is there some connection they have, or I don't know. But it seemed like she was close.
I think she was just close enough, and she was calling out Kate, and then
yelling it.
Kate's soot finally stops when she hears Emilico's voice.
Yeah.
So that Emilico calms Kate down, because she
sweet.
was getting frustrated sitting there in her cage.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't really get to see a rescue yet. I'm assuming that's next episode. But then the end of this episode with Edward.
Oh yeah, I didn't make any notes. I'm trying to remember.
So he's like,
oh yes, I do remember now.
You remember? Yeah. He's like playing the piano, and then like his hands turn black like a shadow master, and then the soot just sort of covers him, and he sort of turns into a shadow.
Yeah.
And then the end credits are him playing piano, and there's like this whole sequence of stuff being shown to us.
It's like a special ending, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have the song Nani by Riona, which I love.
Me too.
Hopefully it was just this episode they're doing that, and we get Nani back next episode.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think it was.
But yeah.
Intentional.
So I mean, I sort of feel like I almost want to go and watch that ending again because it seemed like there was a lot in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's anything, important. But yeah, it was like a whole sliding.
I mean, they wouldn't have shown it for the whole end credits sequence if it wasn't something important, right?
Well, I mean, it's something that you could glean from,
I see what you mean.
He's definitely like, there's something going on there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he was in disguise as a doll when he's actually a Shadows member. I mean, is that or vice versa? Or
that's how Shadows become Shadows, is they're dolls and they soot up or something. I don't know. Yeah, it raises some questions, and I don't know the answers to it. I don't even really have any real strong speculation on the answers to that. It was surprising, and like I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
It
wasn't like, it was a head scratcher and not necessarily like a aha moment, right? Like it was kind of like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
Not like, oh my God, that ties all these things together.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't any sort of like, oh, that's right. That's why they hinted at that back in episode 7 or whatever. There was none of that. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it has I'm assuming it has a purpose, but I'm hoping it ties in nicely and isn't just like some kind of shoehorn thing of like.
Yeah. And I mean, right before that, there's a whole conversation with him and 2 other dolls that he went through the debut with. Apparently,
I guess
they all debuted together. It sounded like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a unexpected twist, and I mean, I already said I don't know what to make of it, but I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I'm 6 out of 10 on this one.
Oh yeah, back down to a 6, huh? I still like this one. I don't know. Yeah, it's somewhere a 6 or 7 or something. I don't know. I'm not sure it's a 7.
Strong 6.
Yeah. But that I think that's the last show on the list. Unless you got anything else. You add anything this week, George?
I did not.
You did not? Oh.
My name's not Tony.
Well, let me get out my list of the 10 shows that I added to this episode. I can't find it. I guess we should just wrap it up then. If I find the list, I'll let you all know. Anyway, yeah, that does it for us this week. We are Like Anime. You can find us on all the social media networks that I've mentioned 1,000 times in the past and that you've heard of 1,000 times before. At Like Anime, UMLIKEANIME. Most of the comments that we get are on YouTube, but we do check, Twitter, Instagram, all those other things as well. Feel free to leave a comment for us anywhere. We love hearing from people that listen to us, even if you don't have anything, great to say. Even if you're just correcting something that I said wrong or telling me something that I forgot to say, I do, in fact, appreciate it. And I think George is the same. Just be a little bit nicer to George. He's a little more sensitive than I am.
No, that goes for you, not anyone else.
But yeah, that's it. That's all we got this week. We'll see you in 4 days. Sunday is our next episode for episode 25. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.